Hey everybody, it's Stephanie, your coach for Christian life. Yesterday we had my first introduction to, my personal diary regarding my domestic violence experience. We talked about how, it's just something that sneaks up on you, how you wake up one day and you're just there. And I just gave a preliminary start off. So I guess today I'll tell my story. I never really thought that there'd be a day where I would need to tell my story. But, what are you going to do? You got to, in order to help other people, you have to be open. And my prayer is that we will definitely become more open so that other people can be made aware of it, so that they can know the trigger signs, that they can know the things that people do that send off indications that this is not going to be the relationship you may have thought it was going to be. And my other postings on YouTube, we're getting some really interesting feedback. So it just kind of made me realize that I really need to subsequently tell my story as well. My story is not much different than a lot of other people. And that's one of the things I talked about before, where we all kind of start off with, we're in La La Land. Everything is nice. Everything is, you're happy and you're joking and he's cool and he makes you laugh and he may take you out, and it all starts off the same, but unfortunately it goes down the same road sometimes as well. Trying to think of the very first time when I experienced any physical abuse. I can't honestly say that I remember much of the verbal or the emotional or mental in the beginning. But I sure remember a time when it was very subtle, and it started off with, I used to be on the bowling team in high school. We met in high school. I was 16 years old, and we were seniors in high school, and I used to be on the bowling team. And so after school, we'd have bowling matches and we'd have to travel. And we were in the Bronx, and we were at a train station, one of the 6 train stations. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if I wasn't giving him enough attention, and he started asking me questions. And I don't remember what the questions were, but one thing I do remember we constantly had an issue with, and that was, he would constantly ask me the same question over and over again if I didn't give the answer that he was looking for. So I guess that was a mental, emotional type of thing. And I didn't read it as that. I knew it was wrong, but I just wasn't going to stand for it. And so he kept asking me the same question over and over and over again, and I don't know what the question was. And after a while, he punched me in my leg. I was standing on the steps. We stand on the steps. He was tall, and he was standing on a lower step rather. And he punched me in my leg, near my knee. And it kind of took me off guard because I didn't see it coming. I surely didn't think, that, I guess, whatever it was warranted him putting his hand on me. But he did. And we were both. I was kind of surprised. So I didn't say anything at first. And he said to me, "Do you see what you made me do?" And I kind of chuckle now because, man, they know how to They know how to do it. They really know how to get this thing done. When I say that, I mean, they really know how to get it to switching where it's you, the one, to be blamed for this. And I remember saying to myself, okay, I caused this, but I didn't say anything, and I just remained quiet. I remember thinking, did he just punch me? And it hurt, but I think it was more shock than pain. And we were alone, and I didn't say anything. I remember thinking a whole lot of things. I remember thinking, he must have lost his mind. I remember thinking, I know he's not thinking he's going to be able to just hit me and this is just going to be the way it's going to be. But again, I didn't say anything. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me what I was thinking, or did we ever talk about it again, because we didn't. He apologized, and again, he asked me, did I realize what he did and the reason why he did it, and the fact that it was all my fault. And I was like, okay, we're gonna forget that happened. What a dope. What a dope. Hindsight is 20/20, and you just say to yourself, how in the world will you just let things like that go? But again, I thought it wasn't going to happen. Whatever little bit was said at the time gave inference, and it was said it would never happen again, and I was okay. But it started getting worse after a while, and I do remember he began intimidating me. Like, if I didn't do the things he wanted me to do, he would just scare me into doing it, where I didn't talk back, or I just kind of cowered to what he was doing to me. And I remember one time we were in the park, and I don't know, it got to a point where he just knew he could scare me, and he wouldn't outright hit me, but I don't know what was said at this particular time, but he put his hand around my neck, in the back of my neck, and he squeezed it really hard. And he was putting his nails in my neck. And I guess he was trying to see if I would cry. But I didn't. And I don't know why. I guess in my own way, I was like, I'm not breaking. I'm not crying. I didn't know why he was doing it. But he just kept doing it. And I allowed it. Why? Don't ask. I don't know. I didn't know. I didn't think he loved me. He wasn't showing me he loved me. He wasn't pretending. He was doing exactly what he wanted to do. He was intimidating me. He was scaring me. And for some reason, I don't know if it was a battle of the wills, and it was just my way of saying, I'm not going to break. He's not going to make me break. And maybe if he did it and he saw that I wouldn't break, then things would change. It didn't. It got worse. It slowly got worse. Things like that would happen. I don't remember things necessarily in sequence, But I remember that there was a time where we were at my house. I was living with my mother, and like I said, we were about 17 years old. I was in school, and he shouldn't have been in the house, but he was. And we weren't arguing, and all of a sudden I noticed I couldn't breathe. I was standing with my back to him, and I couldn't breathe. And when I reached around my neck, he had a silk scarf, and he had put it around my neck, and he had twisted it, and he was pulling on it. Oh my God. Oh my God. For no reason. For no reason. It was just no reason. We hadn't argued. He would just do mean things like that. And I remember, like, my eyes were getting like tight. I couldn't breathe. And I remember I really couldn't get my hands around the underneath the scarf to pull it, because I was getting weaker. And I remember just like reaching out and just saying to myself, I'm gonna die. He's gonna kill me. And I don't know why. Why? What is going on? And I could feel my life like passing by, or passing away, I should say. And then all of a sudden he just let it go. He just let it go. And I remember just like sitting down, and he hugged me, and he left. Just like that. For nothing. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what I was thinking, other than my mother's gonna come home and find me dead in this house, and it's gonna be dead for no reason. I'm just gonna be dead. I'm not gonna be dead because we argued. I'm not gonna be dead because I did something wrong. So I asked him at another time. I said, why would you do that? Well, what was that about? Now, why didn't I leave? Oh my God. I don't know. I wish I could sit in a room full of women who's gone through this, and just somehow or another just help understand, like, what were you going through in your head that wasn't enough to make you leave? That your life leaving you. What could you say to another woman that says, if this ever happens, just go, run, just leave? What could you say? And I remember talking to another person about it, and I was telling the person in front of him, and I said to him, I said, yeah, you're so bold, you're so bad, tell them what happened. And he did. And the person just looked at him like he was crazy. But in all honesty, they really should have looked at me like I was the one who was crazy, because clearly I was the one who was not functioning properly. But I remember him saying, I knew what I was doing. I knew when to let go. I knew when to stop. And I was like, yo, like you're a master at this. Like, you knew that I was just like a half an inch from dead. And I don't think a whole lot about a lot of these things. You know, they come up in spurts. And all I could ask myself is, why did you stay? What would make you go back? Why? What, Stephanie? What? What could make you go back to that? And I never said anything. It was just like, life went on. Like nothing had ever happened. I don't even know where he got the scarf from, to be honest with you. I remember the scarf. I remember the way it looked. But I don't remember where it came from. But clearly it was laying around, because he didn't have to go very far for it. I know that much. And it was, what I realize now is, it was a game. It was a game to him. Let me tell you something about domestic violence and abuse. It's about control. That's what it's about. It's not about anger. It's not about a whole lot of other stuff that people talk about. It's about control. It's about seeing exactly how far you could get, how far you could take things, what you can get away with. Just having someone under some level of subjection, and for some reason we do this, we live through this, we go back. I've listened to women on these YouTube channels really talk about the stuff that they've accepted. And to be honest, this scarf story is minor to some of the stuff that other women have accepted and allowed and lived with voluntarily. What is in your psyche that makes you say, I'm going back? Makes it say it's forgivable. Makes it say, make you say rather, he's not going to do it anymore. Because thinking about it now, I'm like, yo, that was a game. That was a game to him. He was, he was like, I'm sorry. But it was the way he said, I'm sorry. It was like, and I'm talking about the time when we were talking to someone else about it. He was like, I'm sorry. He was like, but I knew what I was doing. It was like, there was no real remorse, in my opinion. It was no real remorse. And, again, like I said, I don't have a clue as to why I went back. But I did. And we went through quite a bit of stuff that I realize now that I don't even remember. I clearly don't remember. It was a lot of stuff. The next time was, and it was a big time. We decided that we wanted to go to get something to eat on 42nd Street. And we're from the hood, straight up. We're from the hood, Chinese. We wanted to get Chinese food, and Chinese food in the hood is hood prices. You get a little shrimp fried rice, or beef fried rice, or pork fried rice, whatever you want. It comes in a little quart container or pint or whatever, and it doesn't really cost as much. And he had a little job, so he had a little money. He wanted to take me out. He says, we're going to go down to 42nd Street. Now, at this time, I was going to college. I was away in college. I was in school. And I was going to school in Teaneck, New Jersey, right over the bridge. It was about 20 minutes away. And I could just hop on a bus. There was a couple of buses I could take that ran pretty late at night. And one would put me really close to the dorm. So it wouldn't be anything just to go in. They all went from 42nd Street. So we leave, we get downtown, and we go into this Chinese restaurant. And you had to go down some stairs, and there was a podium, and it had the prices on it. So I looked at the price, and I was like, oh, those prices are kind of steep. So I tried to be discreet, and I stood there for a little minute, and I was like, nah, I don't want him to use all his little money to pay for the food. So I leaned over and I whispered to him, and I said, let's go outside. We'll talk more, but I really don't want to eat here anymore. So I thought he heard me, so I just kind of walked up the steps and outside. And when I got to the top of the steps, I waited. And you could see like a McDonald's. We were on 7th Avenue right off 43rd Street. So when he finally got up the steps, he was like, well, why did you leave? And I said, I was trying to be discreet. I said, but the money, the prices were just too much. It was just too high. And I don't want to eat there anymore. And I said, I'm fine. We could go to McDonald's. So I was like, okay, that's I'm good. Let's go to McDonald's. So I started walking. So he was standing on my right side. So he says, well, what happened? What do you mean, what happened? Here we go again with the question. I just answered you, but I was cool. I said the prices are really too steep for me. I said, and I don't want to see you spend all your money. We can go to McDonald's. I'm good. We just going out. It's no big deal. He says, but I want to take you out. And I said, I appreciate that. I said, thank you, so much. But I said, you really don't have a lot of money, and I don't want to see you spend all your money. So let's just go to McDonald's. So we kept walking. So somehow or another, we turned onto 42nd Street. And I was like, well, I don't want to go to McDonald's anymore. So I'm walking. So now I'm got to the point where I don't even want to eat anymore because you've asked me 9 times why I don't want to eat. I've made it very clear as to why I don't want to eat. And I said again, I don't want to eat because it's too expensive. I said, let's just go to McDonald's and call it a night. I'm good with that. He had to have asked me 5 additional times, well, why you don't want to eat Chinese food no more? Again, it's about control, because I didn't come up with the answer that he wanted. Well, what am I supposed to do? Make up an answer? I'm being honest. I'm saying I don't want to eat anymore because I'm not hungry. Okay, so now we're here. I'm not hungry anymore. So I said, I'm really not hungry anymore. Let's just go ahead back to the dorm and we'll just get something on our way there. Before I knew it, I was picking myself up off the ground. Now, back in those days, they had some clothing shops on 42nd Street. And they had those, the stands where the clothes are. They were circular stands, and they were closed. They were close together. And when I opened my eyes, all I saw was stuff. And I was like, where am I? That quickly. And I was like, where the hell am I? And I'm just fanning myself, because again, all I know is the last thing I know, I was talking. Where am I? I was on the ground. He hit me so hard that I flew, had to be 2-3 feet, and didn't have anything to catch my fall. So I ended up falling in between the clothing racks. And I scrambled and I got up and I just took off running straight down 42nd Street. And I just ran. And I got to the corner of 8th Avenue and I just turned. There was a smoke shop right there. And I turned and I ran in the store. And the man was like, no, don't run in here, don't run in here. So now I can see what happened when Lil Junior in the Bronx was running and he ran into the store. People panic. They don't know why you're running. You're just running into a store. She's like, no, 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 don't come in here. And I said, I'm breathing heavily. And I'm saying, yo, I said, no. I said, somebody's chasing me. Somebody just hit me. Somebody chased me. Call the cops. Call the cops. Just call the cops. And I don't know what happened because I'm just yelling, call the cops, call the cops. Somebody just hit me. I'm running from somebody. Somebody's chasing me. Well, before I knew it, the cops were coming in the smoke shop. And they were like, what happened? What happened? Because what subsequently had happened was when I got up and ran, I ran straight past them. There was a patrol car out there with the cops there. And when I ran, he was running behind me and the cops ran behind us. So I don't know how they beat him or whatever. I don't know what happened. But it was like, what happened? What happened? And I said, did somebody hit me? He's chasing me and I'm scared. And I said, you got to get him. And when he took me outside, they had already had him in a patrol car. So clearly the ones that had caught me, there was some left behind and snatched him up as well. And they were like, okay, is that him? And I said, yes. And they took us in Port Authority. And they had him in, I guess, that place where they hold criminals. And they were talking to him and they asked me some questions and they let me go. So I was walking to the bus stop and I had to go through the tunnels or whatever. And when I looked up, when I got to the bus area, he was behind me. So they didn't lock him up. They didn't hold him. They didn't keep him. I guess they told him, you go home or whatever, let her go. And he followed me. And I was just crying. And he was like, can I go with you? And I was like, no, you can't go with me. What are you doing? I said, do you realize what you just did to me? And you just for no reason, because I didn't want to eat Chinese food anymore. Seriously, is this what we're going through? I'm going to get beat because I don't want Chinese food anymore. And he was like, no, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I did that. I won't do it anymore. And, he ended up going home and I ended up going to the dorm, and I thank God I didn't have any bruises on me because I did have a roommate, and, there would have been questions. And why I stayed, I don't know. But what I want to say is, I'm going to put a pause here in my story because I want to tell any young lady, any older woman, whatever age, any young man, any young woman, whoever you are, leave. There's just no talking. There is, anyone who is that out of control that they need to put their hands on you or they need to intimidate you, verbally abuse you, leave. They're not worthy of you. They don't deserve you. Don't wait for it to change while you're with them. It's just not worth it. I promise you, it doesn't get better. With the I'm sorry's, the please forgive me's, the I won't do it anyore's, it's a lie. It's a lie. Because if they're not going somewhere and they're not getting help, they're not going to get any better. You're not going to change either. You're not going to change either. You're going to still do what you do. You're still going to be who you are. You shouldn't try to change. There shouldn't be any, well, I'm going to change. And what I'm saying when I say you won't change is, I was always an outspoken person. I was never disrespectful. I was just the type of person that just kind of did what I wanted to do. I didn't let anybody control me that way. My mother couldn't control, my father couldn't control me that way. Weird as it may seem, so he couldn't control me because he wanted me to say, okay, well, we'll go back in the store and we'll eat Chinese food. And I wasn't going to do that. I didn't want it. And not only that, he kept pushing until he made it worse. So I didn't want to eat it all. And that really pushed him and made his temperament even worse. leave. Listen, I got some other things, some other stories that are worse than this. And I will be back to tell them. But this is just some examples of what we mean when we say leave, because he wants to control you, and he's not going to stop until he controls you, or you are killed or hurt really badly, or you just leave and then hope that this is not the type of person that will follow you and haunt you and stalk you. And no, what needs to happen is, once that verbal abuse surfaces, once that mental and emotional abuse surfaces, you got to get out of there. You have got to go. Don't wait thinking it's going to get better. Don't wait thinking that maybe what you do can change him, because see, that was my problem. My problem was, well, you know what? Maybe if I do things differently, maybe I'll help him. And maybe, because I didn't realize it was a level of control. See, the things that I say to you now, I say to you because I understand it now. I understood it years later, but I didn't understand it while I was there. It's a control thing. They want to be able to dictate what you do. I'm just grateful to God that back then there were no cell phones and things like that. It's because it would have been worse. It would have been worse. Trust me, it would have been worse. The only thing that saved me was the fact that I could actually go home. That I could actually go to, when I went to the dorm, I could actually go to the dorm. And it didn't get better. That was what just saved me from it getting, worse quicker. But it did get progressively worse. And like I said, you just keep listening, keep tuning in, and I'll let you know how it got worse. And I thank God that I'm a survivor, because it's not easy. And, as much as I've gone through, there's still women that have gone through a whole lot worse. But I need you to keep listening. I need you to keep tuning in. I need you to tell a friend. I need you to leave. And we're going to discuss how to leave, in between, my chats with you. I'm going to do the other side of the domestic violence presentation. And there's a lot to be said for my story and other women's stories. And like I said, for all of us who have had it bad, there are women who've had it worse. Unfortunately, I was 17 years old. I was 17, 18 years old, going through this. And I wouldn't do it again for the world. There is nothing that would make me even consider doing this again. I wouldn't. It's your Christian coach for life. I need you to keep watching. Stay interested. Stay informed. Thank you so much for listening. Check you later.